Hello, good afternoon. Welcome to Thursday and episode 2, series 3 of the MCC live stream series. And of course, we're going to carry on talking about the wonderful Apple Teacher CPD program available online. We're going to take a look at our first module today. My name is Richard Child. I'm the Education Manager for MCC Digital. We're an Apple authorised education specialist helping schools around the country with iPads and Apple technologies in the classroom. And with me, as always, Mr. David Kirtland, an Apple professional learning specialist, very experienced educator and leader of this this webinar podcast YouTube stream experience. So David, thank you for joining us again. I had to look at that photo of over a year ago, and gosh, times were different then, weren't they? And we're going to look, last time we looked at a sort of overview of the program, and this time we're taking our first look at one of the badges that makes up the iPad collection, and it's a general one about iPad, isn't it? So what have we got in store today, David? Do tell us more.
Yep, so we're going to jump in and have a look at some of the content really around earning our first badge. So in the first session, we spent quite a lot of time exploring what we actually get on the Apple Teacher Learning Center, and we had a look where some of the resources are and the type of thing that's there. But now we're really going to dig into these learn and earn sections here. So we have these three to have a look at. We've got Learn Skills for iPad, which is what we're focusing on in this series, but also we've got Learn Skills for Mac and Earn the Badges for Swift. So if I just jump in to Learn Skills for iPad, just remind ourselves what is there. So we have these headlines for our badges. So this is our first badge, the iPad badge here. And as I scroll down, I start to find the other badges, the content for those below those. So in this session, really, we're going to pick out the main bits really from the iPad overview badge, and we're going to work through some of these. And if I tap on one, so there's our first set of skills, iPad home screen. So we might want to learn more about what we're doing on an iPad when we first get it out of the box and we first turn it on. We do have our virtual iPad here with all those tips that we can work through at our own leisure, but we're going to have a look at those here. So we've got a few to start with. So let's start off with that one there, home screen, and see what's actually on the iPad as we start. So looking at my iPad, let's make sure we use the correct terminology, because they will pop up when we do think about taking the little quiz to earn that badge. This is the home screen. We're looking at the home screen here on the iPad with all our apps laid out, and we can swipe through the different pages and see all sorts that we have installed on our iPads. And along the bottom there is our dock, which is just apps that we use regularly. And we can customize that, and we can put things on there that we use more often than some of the other apps, but it's just a nice, quick, easy way of getting to some of those apps. And if I swipe all the way over and see the very left-hand side, this is our little view of today on our iPad. So it's showing me things like the calendar and a few other things about battery power and so on. Now, it is worth noting that if I swipe down from the very top edge, that pulls down my notifications. So that'll show me things like my calendar and reminders about this webinar and so on. If I swipe down from around the middle of the screen, this brings up a very handy search engine here. So I can just search for anything on my iPad. I could search for an app that I can't quite see, and I can launch it from there. I could search my emails, my messages. It just lets me search on my iPad. It's a really quick and easy way to find things. Now, these apps, if I decide that I don't want a particular app, if I just tap and hold on the background screen for a moment, it does let me select those individual apps to delete. Or maybe I want to move them around. I can grab hold of these and I can change the order of them. Or if it's an app I use regularly, I could put it down onto the dock for me there. So it's always there for me without me having to swipe through screens. Perhaps I group them together into folders. I just place them over the top of each other and it will create a folder that I can name maybe productivity apps, something like that, if I was working with Pages and Keynote and Numbers there. So it's just really quite simple to customize that screen. And when we're happy with the layout, we can press done, and it just kind of fixes those there. So that's the first kind of introduction really of using the iPad, and that's just ticking off some of the content there on the home screen. So let's have a look at the next couple. We've got the control center to have a look at, and this is a really nice, quick and easy way to get to a lot of the settings without really digging into the settings app on the iPad. Now, over in the top right-hand corner where I've got my battery indicator, if I just swipe down there, it does pull down my control center. And this gives me quick access to things like aeroplane mode, so I can turn off the Wi-Fi or Bluetooth very quickly. I could change my screen brightness or my volume, or it depends what I've got set up on here on my iPad. Now, some of these, though, I can also get into a bit more detail with them if I do a longer press. So on the screen brightness, instead of just swiping up and down to change that brightness, if I do a long press, I now get a big version of the button, so I've got a bit more control over it, but I do get 3 more options appear. So I can control things like dark mode, when it changes the color of the iPad, the whites and the dark colors, depending on the time of day. I can turn on night shift or true tone, depending how it will recognize the ambient light. It will change the color of the screen slightly. I've got a couple of other options there. I've got a timer. So tapping the timer would take me straight to the timer app and the stopwatch, which is quite handy and useful. But there are times in a classroom when I might be working with the children and say, right, you've got this task, you've got 5 minutes to do it. If I do a long press on it, it just gives me a very quick access to a timer, and I can set however long I like and let it count down from this screen, and it will remind me at the end that time is up. So really quick and easy way of getting to these things. I've got Do Not Disturb turned on, that little icon with the moon. So while we're doing this webinar, it's not going to ping up with text messages or emails or all sorts of other sounds and notifications. I can just turn that on and off by tapping it. But again, if I do a long press on it, rather than just leaving it on or off, I can say, actually, just leave it on for the rest of today or for the next hour while I do this presentation, or until I leave this location. So the iPad will know when I pick up the iPad and go home at the end of the school day, it will turn it back on so I do get my messages coming through. So quite a handy, quick, easy way of getting to some of those features. Now, I've got 2 or 3 extra icons on the bottom of my control center there because you can customize the features here. So if I do go into my settings app and I have a look over on the left-hand side, I've got my control center option there. And this gives me 2 main boxes. So anything that's in this top box is already there now on my control center. I can press the red icon to remove it. And anything in that bottom box with the green plus, I can add to my control center. So I've already added things like screen recording, that little button that had the 2 circles on there. That lets me record the screen on the iPad. And if I do a long press on it, it lets me turn the microphone on as well. So it will record my voice, which is brilliant for creating maybe little tutorials or even giving feedback to the children. They've sent you some work through. You can just do a screen recording and talk through their document that maybe they've sent and then share that back to the children. So certainly turn on the screen recording option, but any of those things that you might find useful, just add it straight to the control center there. Okay, so I think that's kind of getting us going with our way around the main bits on the iPad. So let's have a quick look back. Now we've got some things like we've got the camera, we've got photos and Siri to have a look at. Let's jump into photos because there's a few things there that we might not have found as we've been exploring it. So the Photos app obviously shows me all the photos and videos and maybe any animations that I've created on my iPad. They're all here in one place. And I can use this now as a quick way of sharing these or creating albums, but I can also do quite a lot of editing here. And this is really useful for maybe the children to explore, or maybe we're preparing images to use in a presentation or a document. So I'm going to select one of my images. There it is. We've got an image there. Up in the top right-hand corner there, we've got an edit button. And this gives me quite a lot of control over this image. I can change the filters and change the color and the look of it, but I've also got a crop tool there. So if I want to straighten up the image or maybe crop it in a little bit, I can just use this to resize that image. I've also got the options here for the adjustments, and this is where I can change the way a photo looks. So let's have a look at a few here. I've got options here to change the highlights, the brightest areas of the picture, or the shadows. So for example, on this one, I might be thinking, I want to give a bit more depth to it, and those roads are quite dark gray, but let's darken them down a little bit just to give it a bit more of a feel. So if I select the shadows and adjust the slider there, can you see how it's adjusting the roads to maybe make them stand out? So I've just got to use this and decide what kind of look and feel we might want for the image. I've got a few others here. I can change the saturation. I could make it a really bright, vibrant color there. Or if I push it the other way, give it that all kind of black and white look. Now, don't forget, we do have our filters over on the left-hand side, which has some presets for these, but using the sliders, I've got a lot more control over the colors there. Or I could change the temperature or a few other things here, the tints and so on. It's also worth noting that any photos I've taken, I do have that more button up in the top corner. That's those 3 dots. And this gives me access to the markup features. And markup now lets me annotate the image. I can mark it up. I can write on here. I can add some text messages, and I can do all sorts of things depending what I want to do with my image. So this could be a photo of the children doing an activity. The children could have photographed their own work to highlight keywords or phrases, or maybe something else to help explain what they've been doing. But a really nice and easy tool for getting the children explaining something on the photo, just labeling things there and highlighting content. So there's my image, and if I press done, it will save it there, and I can use that annotated and edited in anything that I'm creating. So photos gives us quite a lot of flexibility there, really, for editing it. It's also worth noting that if I've got a video in here, here's a quick video I made. It's only a couple of minutes long, but I do have an edit button for video as well. So if I tap edit here, I can trim it. So if I've just used the camera, or it's the video camera, or an animation or something I've made elsewhere, I can say, actually, I don't need all of this video here. In fact, at the end of it here, I pop up on here, but I don't need that, but I just want to get rid of that. And I can just trim it down and get rid of the end bit of it there. So I've just got the bit with the images on there. And if I press done, it will ask me if I want to create a new clip and overwrite this one, or save it to the same image that we've got there. Okay, so we can edit video straight away in our photo library as well. So a few things really that we might not think we can do just in the photo library. Let's go back. So let's skip down to a few more of these where there's some interesting things popping up. Safari. Safari is a really useful tool. We use it all the time for browsing the internet and maybe doing a little bit of independent research or finding out facts. But there's a few things we can do with Safari just to help kind of with that process. So let's jump back to Safari. I'm going to go over to another tab here that I've already opened. So I'm on the National Geographic's kids website here, and I might be doing a project about small mammals, and I found some facts about 10 facts about wombats, and that could be the basis of my research that I'm going to use for a document or a movie that I'm creating on the iPad. But while I'm here, I'm browsing down it, and I've suddenly seen an interesting topic here that says a 4-year-old finds a dino footprint in Wales. And maybe I think, actually, I'm not really doing that today, but maybe I want to kind of open that up and not lose it, because I do want to read that and find out about this dinosaur footprint. If I do a long press on that link, it gives me a quick little preview so I can see whether it's looking interesting, and I think it is. And then there's a menu here with a couple of useful options. I can open it in the background, which will open up another tab, so it's sat there waiting, or I can open it up in a new window, which will split my screen and have 2 website windows side by side. I think I'm going to open it in the background for a moment. So it is there now over in another tab. So I can switch between these 2 web pages. I can do my work and find out all about wombats, but then I can have a quick read about this dinosaur footprint as well. So that's just a really nice, quick, simple way of sharing information and thinking about how we can save it for later. Now, I also have the little share button up in the top corner. That's that square with the arrow coming out. And if I tap that, I can send that link in the usual way. I can add it as a text message. I could airdrop it to someone else. I could put it in an email. But I do have these options here: add to reading list and add to bookmark. So I could add it to a bookmark, and it sits over here. There's my bookmark option over there, that little picture of a book. And a bookmark is just a link back, so it will sit there so I can always click back on it and how I can get back to this website. But I've also got the option to add to a reading list. So if I have a look at my bookmarks, so there's my bookmarks. These are things I go to regularly and they're there all the time. Next to it, the little icon of the glasses, that's my reading list. And this is a lot like bookmarks, really. They're there until I delete them. But really, a bookmark is kind of, a reading list is intended to be a little bit more kind of temporary. It's there till I've read it. And when I'm happy with it, I can swipe to the left to delete it. I've read it. But notice I get that option under the reading list to save offline. So if I'm out and about and I found this document, I think I really want to read this document, but I know I've got a long train journey coming up where the Wi-Fi is not very good. If I save this offline, it stores all this website so I can get back to this and read it whether the Wi-Fi is good or not. So it's just saved there for me on my iPad, which is a really nice, handy feature to have. That's just saving it to the reading list. Similarly, I have the option here to add to the home screen. So maybe you've got a website that you use quite often in the class and the children have to go and find that website every time. But on your iPad, you could press this add to home screen option. And this gives me a little icon and I can put my own title in instead of a long heading here. I could put my own quick link in here. It could be a maths website or a phonics website that you use often. But if I press add, it jumps me back to my home screen and look, I've got an icon there. It just looks like any other app on my iPad, but it's a link directly back from the home screen to that website, which is really nice and handy to have, particularly if it's something that you use often in the classroom. Let's go back. Let's have a look at our Apple Teachers, see where we are here. So that's Safari. We've had a look at. We've had a look at some of those skills there. Let's push on. Let's have a quick look at multitasking, because this kind of jumps into Safari as well. So maybe we are doing that topic, and we've found our information about small mammals. So here's my facts, 10 facts about wombats. Let's have a look and see what we've got on here. So there's some really good stuff here. Now, I'm going to use some of that information. I want to start putting it into a document. Maybe it's a beginnings of a script that I'm making or something that I'm doing there. So let's go over to Pages or any other app really, but Pages, and I've got a blank document here. So I can tap on here and I can start typing my new topic, all about wombats. Whatever I'm going to call my document, but we're in Pages. But if I want to get back and find some of that research and those facts, I could keep switching between Pages and Safari. But just to make things a little bit easier, while I'm still in Pages, if I do a slow swipe up from the bottom of the screen, it now pulls my doc up on top of the Pages view. And I've got some icons on here. So there's Safari. So I can now grab Safari and I can pull that on top of Pages. And I'm going to pull it over to the right-hand side. So I'm just going to grab hold of it and pull it over to the right-hand side of my screen. And when I let go, I've now got this floating window over the top of Pages. So I can scroll through my website here. I can go back to Pages and bring up the keyboard and I can type all my information. And then I can scroll back down here and find a few more headings and bits of content that I might want to use in my document. Now, while it's a floating window, if it is in the way of some of my options, so maybe those icons at the top right-hand corner of Pages, I can grab that little handle, that little gray line, and pull it over to the other side so I can get to my options to maybe put some photos in. Or if I use this for a longer time, I can pull it down, and if I just kind of stick it in the corner, it gives me a proper split screen view, so I can see a bit more of the page. And I've got that option there to say, actually, I really need to do a bit of reading now. Right, I've got my information, let's go back, and I want the focus to be on Pages, and I can keep splitting between the two. I can, when I finish, grab hold of this and just push it off the end of the screen and go back to my full screen of Pages. So that multitasking works really quite handily when we're doing things like that. You can even pull photos out and drag them straight into your document if you want as well. So really nice features there for that multitasking option. Let's check where we are with our iPad badge here. So we've had a look at some of the multitasking. We've got a couple next to it now, which are really quite handy as well. We've got notes and voice memos, and these are great quick ways of making records of things, maybe things we're doing, quick lists, quick snippets of information that we might want to have a look at. So let's have a look at notes and voice memos. So let's find the Notes app, and I've got a whole bunch of notes down here, and over on the right-hand side is where we can we've got a little notepad where we can put content in here. And if I type on here, this is my new note, it puts the content in there. Don't forget that dictation option, that little microphone is there, so I can just talk straight into it and it will convert that straight into text, which is a quick and easy way of putting content in there, but it's just a notepad. I can put notes in here. I can use that little pencil icon, or I can pick up the Apple Pencil and I can start writing things in here. And we can put content in there as we go in. It will record my movement of that as well. Another nice one, I've got that little circle with a tick. So if I am making lists, maybe it's children names, maybe it's ones who've completed a particular work or stages that I'm working with, I can make a little list there. Let's put step 1. and so on as we're going. But this is a nice little checklist. So maybe these are children's names and I can just tick them off as they've been completed, which is really quite handy and helpful. And similarly, we do have that little camera icon. So I can take a photo with the camera live straight into my note, into my document. I can pull in a photo or video from the photo library. Notice that scan documents. That's a really nice way. If you've got a load of handouts, paper-based resources that you want to send to the children, particularly as they're working remotely at the moment, you can just scan those documents straight from the Notes app here. Scanning it is a lot like taking the photograph, but it does automatically recognize where the document is, so it trims it down for us, and it will also straighten it up as well if you've been looking at it on a strange angle. So we can scan documents really quite quickly and easily, and then of course we can share that straight to the children. So Notes is a really quick and easy way of recording things like bits of information which might be a bit more informal. Now, alongside that, we've got the Voice Memos app. And this is one of those apps a lot of people don't notice. They don't realize we have this Voice Memos app, but it is really just a nice, simple way of creating audio recordings, a bit like a dictaphone. So I'm making notes, but audio notes. So simply we hit the red button. This is our first voice memo. We're just having a quick look to see how it all works. And it gives me that graphical representation, that waveform of our note, and I can just drag it backwards and forwards to rewind. This is our first voice memo. We're just having a quick look to see how it all works. And it really is that simple. Now, you'll notice while I'm in this mode now, we've recorded it. We can see the waveform. I still have my red record button. So they're down in the bottom corner, but it's now changed to a resume. So while I'm at the end of the note, if I want to add something else to it that I've forgotten, rather than creating a new voice memo, we can just resume that recording and add something to the end. Or if I'm part way through, maybe I want to replace it and it will record over the top. I also have that little crop tool up in the top right-hand corner. So I can trim it down if I've got something on the end that I don't need and I want to send this to someone, but without the end on perhaps, I can trim those voice notes down. So there we go. That's a really quick and easy way of recording a voice note. It will list all my voice notes down the left-hand side, and of course we've got that share button to send it somewhere else. So voice memos, really quick, really simple way of creating little records of information. So we're coming to the end of the main features here, really, that we need to cover in this iPad overview badge. So we've got screenshots next, and now screenshots sound really quite simple and straightforward, and they are, but there's a couple of nice little tricks that we don't often notice about screenshots. So let's have a quick look. So I'm going to go back to, in fact, I'll stay on the website. We'll make a screenshot of this. So if I want to take a screenshot here, ordinarily I'd use the physical button. So I'm going to use the home button on the front of my iPad and the sleep button on the top. And if I press those together, it creates my screenshot and it pops down to the left-hand side. And from here, I can crop it. I can use my annotation tools. I can use my pencil on my finger and I can highlight bits and pieces that we're doing with our iPad. It's also worth noting, let me get rid of that one. Now, I've just said we're going to use the physical buttons to create that screenshot. But if you do find that you have an Apple Pencil and maybe you're looking at some children's work and you're annotating on it to give them feedback, you don't have to necessarily let go and hold those buttons if you've got the pencil in your hand, because you can also take a screenshot by swiping up diagonally from either of the bottom corners. So if I just swipe up, it's just a really quick and easy way of creating that screenshot. So exactly the same as pressing the buttons. We're just swiping up from that bottom corner. Now, there is one more really nice little feature when we take a screenshot. I'm going to go back to this website here. These are my facts about wombats. And if I want to take this screenshot, and maybe I'm going to share this information with the children, I want to send it over by schoolwork or classroom, Google Classroom or Shobi or any of those that I might use in my school, I could take a screenshot. And then this is quite a long web page though, so maybe I'll have to take another screenshot and then another screenshot to give them those bits of information. A screenshot is an image of the screen. It's a JPEG file. It's a photograph of the screen. So let's take it. Let's press those buttons there. But we might notice that while we're looking at that image, up at the top of the screen, it says screen. that is a screenshot. It's an image file of the screen. But next to it is that option there that says full page. And if I select full page, I do get the whole document now in one go. So I don't have to do it over multiple image screenshots. I've got the whole document. This is no longer a JPEG. This is now a PDF, which is another nice general document format that anyone can use. So if I press done now, it gives me the option to save the PDF to files. So a screenshot is a JPEG that will be saved in my photos with any of the photos I've taken on my iPad. When I do the full page, this is a PDF that goes to my files. Makes very little difference. It's just there in a slightly different place on my iPad. So a nice little trick really of the screenshots there, which is worth knowing about. Okay, so what have we got? We're nearly at the end of these now. We've got accessibility and we've got maps to have a look at before we can earn our badge. So there's one nice feature of accessibility. Let's have a look and see where these are. So if I go back into my settings, we've got the accessibility features down the left-hand side. And these are all the things built into my iPad. Now, we could spend a lot of time working through some of these, and some of these features really are quite amazing. But essentially, they split into three main categories. We've got this vision box up at the top. We've got one for physical and motor, and then we've got a hearing set of options there with a general bit at the bottom. Now, I'm not going to go into all of these, but I am going to pick out spoken content, which is up here in the vision category. And this is good for a lot of learners. And this is the built-in screen reader. So if I select spoken content, I have two options. I've already got speak selection turned on, so it will read out a selection of text. I do have speak screen as well, which works in pretty much the same way, but that will read out the entire screen content there. We can change the voice and the accent. I can change the speed with that hare in the tortoise, and I can actually make it highlight the content, so it will highlight the words as it reads them out to us. So let's see how speak selection works. So I'm going to go back to a website, but this could be a book or it could be a document I'm writing myself in Pages, and I can hear it back. So if I've got a document here and I'm looking at these letters and I can't quite work out what this word says. If I tap and hold on it, it goes blue. I have the option to look up, so that's the dictionary that's built in, but next to it now, I have that option to speak.
Personalize.
So it reads out that word so I can now hear it, and that might make it a little bit more sense to me. And if I want to hear it in context, I can drag it out and hear the whole sentence or maybe the whole paragraph.
Personalize your home screen.
Okay, so really nice, useful feature there to have a look at for a lot of children. Just that ability to be able to hear what we see on the screen is quite useful. And that works with any website. Let's have another look here. Let's have a look at this sentence. So we can pull out bits and pieces there and see all sorts of things that
There's more to those Aussie animals than meets the eye. So come on, gang. Let's find out some fantastic facts about wombats.
So that can quite help a lot of children really to kind of understand the context and maybe help with that independence and learning those facts that they might be researching for their document. Now, while we're having a look at this, there is another feature that we can have a look at, which is just up in the top of Safari, where we've got our web address. If we have a look over to the left of that, we've got these two A's. And if I tap on there, that gives me a few options to slightly change how the website is displayed. I can change the text size, I can make it larger or smaller, but I've also got this option here to show the reader view. Now, depending on the website, we've got a very bright website here, but that could be distracting for some children. Maybe there's little videos or adverts popping up or things down the side which are distracting. If we tap show reader view, it changes the way my website looks and it takes away all that kind of distracting content and it shows me the main content. So this is the main body of the website. So there's all my facts, complete with photos and links, but in a much more accessible, easy to read format. And of course, I can still tap and hold on here and I still get that option to speak the selection while I'm in this view as well. If I tap on those two A's, I can change the color. Maybe the contrast between the background and the text will vary. Just varying that might help me see what we're looking at there, but I can change that color. And of course, when I want to go back to my website, we just turn off the reader view. So lots of really nice features there to help the children access some of the content. Now, the final section of this badge is a quick look at the maps. And there's a couple of new features, which I'm just going to point out. So I'm going to go into my Maps app. And there we are, looking at our map. And I'm going to search on, I think we'll go down to London. We'll have a look at Tower Bridge. So I can pick anywhere in the world, really, have a look at my map, see where it is. And I do get this headline information here. And if I scroll down, I've got a bit of information about it, a few facts. I've even got some reviews in this case as well here. And I've got photos and things I can look at. But a new feature that we're starting to see now is this look around. And this is starting to appear in a lot of areas and will soon cover, I would think, most of the world, really. So let's have a quick look around Tower Bridge. And you've seen these type of things before. We can now have a look around and see the area, lots of people out and about, and she's becoming an unusual sight at the moment. But let's go down the bridge and have a look, and we can just scoot down there and have a look at the area around Tower Bridge. And when we're done with that, let's press done. So we are starting to see this built in to the maps as well. Now, I also have an I for inspector, and I can move over now from my map view to a satellite view. I can turn my traffic on if I particularly want to, but this is a really nice one. I can have a look at a satellite view of the area. And then if I go into the 3D view, I can use two fingers to change my viewpoint, or I can spin around or zoom in and have a look at a 3D view around Tower Bridge. And let's see the buildings around. And we can see that this is really useful in a classroom. I use this a lot for if you're doing something like perhaps volcanoes, a topic we do with a lot of the children in school. And a lot of the children have never seen a volcano. So let's take them on a virtual tour. Let's use this feature and maybe go over to Mount Vesuvius and let the children have a look at the landscape and have a look inside the volcano and around the area, just using this feature here. And it is really quite nice and simple to use. It's just the satellite view and a 3D maps that we have access to there. So a great little feature of the maps that we have here. So let's have a quick check back at our Apple Teacher Learning Center. And we've covered most of these topics here that we find in the badge. So you can go back and review these, have a quick look through this, these tips and tricks here, and really develop your knowledge and comfort level with using the iPad. But once you're happy with that and you spent a bit of time with it, there's the button we need to be looking at, Earn Your Badge. So that's where you need to tap on there and it will take you to do the quiz. Remember, it's just 5 questions. You only have to get 4 out of 5 to pass this badge. So really, I think it's over to you now. Have a bit of a play with it and then go and earn your first Apple Teacher Badge.
Absolutely incredible. So I hope my tapping away as you were showing us the shortcuts for split screen and that sort of thing didn't distract. Apologies if it did. But wow, you know, it's just one module, but you pack so much in there, don't you? And it really sort of illustrates how an iPad is a video camcorder, a camera, a dictaphone, a notepad, a web tablet, a video editing suite, an audio editing. Just does everything, doesn't it? Why would you think of using another device in the classroom? Beyond me.
And we've only really looked at things that are built into it that we've just started from out of the box before we've even gotten to those other.
It's bonkers, isn't it? If you're not signed up already, then get signed up to the Apple Teacher program. It's completely free, no charge whatsoever. The top QR code there will give you the overview of the program, and the all-important lower code there is where you can sign up. So you sign up using your Apple ID. So that's your iTunes account, your Apple TV account. Plenty of reasons to have an Apple ID. And if you don't have an Apple ID, this is reason enough to go and get one. Just sign up with your email address and get yourself in there, looking at those modules, completing those badges, and earning your Apple Teacher Badge. Go take a look at that. And we will be back in a few days' time, and we'll be looking at our next badge. We'll sort of give you a teaser about that in a moment. If you are a school with ambition for iPad, or you've got a couple of class sets and looking to really sort of change and improve the outcomes that you're getting with that investment, then we have a workshop for you, which is Apple Planning Essentials. We will come in or do this virtually, and we will examine 40 or so different elements that go to make a successful technology deployment. We look at vision and strategy, teaching, learning, and the environment. The environment being your your network infrastructure, and how you're going to manage your iPads and put apps on them and keep the settings common across all those devices. We'll look at all that sort of thing. We'll go through all of those in detail. We'll create a project plan for your school, and we really sort of integrate all those different factors in there. So if you're interested in booking one of those, we don't charge for Apple Planning Essentials. As I say, we can either come and do it with you on site, or we can do it virtually over Zoom. And if you want to talk to us about that, then please email us at education@mccdigital.com, and we'll be happy to take that conversation forward. When we can come and do it on site, we leave you with a big 2-meter wide poster. You can just see one in the background of that photo there. That's a school in South Manchester. And, universally, the feedback has been positive, that it's a great thing to do. And again, do drop us a note at education@mccdigital.com if you'd like to know more about that. So, what is the next badge, David? What we're going to talk about next time around?
Well, we start to work our way through the different apps, and the first one we're going to have a look at is Pages.
Pages. Okay, so page word processing and a lot of page layout as well. So great for school newsletters.
Definitely.
Perfect. Excellent. Well, thank you for joining us. And it is 6 minutes over 4:36. But I think there's just so much to cram in to that first general iPad module. So thanks for watching. And we'll be back for more in a few days' time. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Richard.